And today we are diving deep into round 2, group 3. And this group, listeners, you really need to understand, this one is special.
Oh, yeah. This is the definition of a group of death.
Totally. When you look at the pedigree, the history of these 4 albums just to get here,
Yeah.
every single one of them won their round 1 group.
That's the key. All champions already. They've all proven themselves once.
So they're all assassins in their own right. High-stakes eliminations don't even cover it.
Exactly. They've all survived that first trial by fire. Now, only 2 of these winners get to move on to round 3. The margin for error, it's basically 0 now.
Okay, so let's introduce the 4 albums fighting for those 2 crucial spots. First up, we have the ethereal, consistently pristine new age sounds of Very Best Of by Enya, a titan of consistency. Then, a real curveball perhaps, the 90s reinvented arena rock of Slang by Leppard.
A big departure for them. We'll get into that.
Then, the polished, kind of funky 2000s pop rock staple, It Won't Be Soon Before Long by Maroon 5.
Very radio-friendly, very successful.
And finally, the classic soft pop, almost like a curatorial masterwork, Intepretations by the Carpenters.
A compilation, but what a compilation.
It's just a phenomenal clash of styles, isn't it? You've got these multi-layered Celtic soundscapes, then grunge-adjacent heavy rock.
Yeah, battling against immaculate 70s arrangements and super slick modern pop. There's almost zero common ground stylistically.
And that's exactly what makes this album quest so fascinating and maybe so effective.
I think so. It strips away everything but the listening experience itself.
And as the title of this analysis teases, we already know the outcome. Enya and Maroon 5 ultimately failed to interpret Def Leppard's slang. So we need to unpack how that happened.
Yeah, step by step. How did a new age goddess and like a global pop rock phenomenon end up losing out to a covers album and a major departure album? Let's dig in. #tag1. The album quest structure and contender pedigree. Right, so to really get why Group 3 shook out the way it did, you constantly have to keep those tournament rules in mind.
Yeah, the structure is everything.
The randomization of the library, it's not just a quirk, it's like a core mechanism designed to test an album's fundamental strength, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. By forcing these wildly different genres together, the only things left to judge are subjective criteria, consistency, flow, moments of brilliance, maybe surprise.
Yeah, those become the only real measure. It's the ultimate comparison test, stripped bare.
And because all 4 albums here had already won a 4-album face-off in round 1, well, we're dealing with 4 albums that proved they could deliver a better listen than, 75% of their initial groups?
Yeah. Exactly. They demonstrated overwhelming quality in that first trial. So let's quickly detail their paths to get here, because this really shows why this was such a group of death. These weren't easy wins.
Okay, where do we start? Def Leppard's Slang.
Yeah, let's do Slang. It won Group 59. Now, we'll talk later about how radical a departure this album was for them.
Right.
But it immediately proved its strength by beating some pretty solid contenders. You had Avril Lavigne's Under My Skin.
Okay, big seller.
The Scorpions' classic heavy metal album, Animal Magnetism.
Right, proper old school.
And maybe most tellingly, an earlier, more classic Def Leppard album, High and Dry.
Wow. So Slang beat High and Dry.
Yeah, so Slang wasn't just good in a vacuum, it was judged better than its own legacy in that moment. That says a lot.
That really does. Okay, the carnage continues. What about Enya?
Enya, her Very Best Of, won Group 170, and the source says she easily destroyed her counterparts.
Okay, who were the victims this time?
Some big names from the alternative era. Pearl Jam's quite experimental No Code.
Right, divisive album for them.
Taking Back Sunday's very angsty emo cornerstone, Louder Now.
Yep.
And maybe the most sprawling and ambitious one, the Smashing Pumpkins' double album epic, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Whoa. So she beat Melancholy. That's huge. Literally and figuratively.
Okay. So you have these 3 alternative rock giants known for ambition, length, raw emotion sometimes, all swept aside by these pristine, ethereal soundscapes.
What does that tell you?
It's just Enya offered something incredibly focused, consistent, maybe flawless in its own way, something that the sometimes scattered or maybe meandering nature of those big rock records couldn't quite match in a direct comparison.
The efficiency of beauty, maybe?
Efficiency, consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. It won the day there.
Okay, one more winner to get here. Maroon 5.
Right. It Won't Be Soon Before Long. This won Group 145, and this victory is, well, maybe just as surprising in its own way.
Who did they take down?
They bettered some really potent, quite heavy counter-programming, Eminem's huge comeback album Recovery,
Massive.
Iron Maiden's raw, foundational self-titled debut, Iron Maiden,
Wow, Maiden's debut.
and Marilyn Manson's industrial, controversial, behemoth, Antichrist superstar.
So funk pop beats global rap, NWO BHM, and industrial metal.
In that specific group, yes. Again, it shows genre popularity, historical weight, means nothing.
It's purely about which album performed best when listened to immediately against its rivals.
Exactly. So we've got these 4 albums, Enya, Maroon 5, the Carpenters, Def Leppard. They've all proven they can beat metal giants, grunge gods, rap superstars, prog legends.
They're all certified giant killers.
Which makes the question even harder. When the quality bar is this high, what finally separates them? What tiny flaw gets exposed?
It must become excruciatingly subjective at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us neatly to the first elimination in this group of death.
Okay, let's start with the eliminations. Coming in 4th place, Maroon 5's It Won't Be Soon Before Long.
Yep. Their second album, right, after that massive debut. And look, it was clearly strong enough to win its round 1 group against the likes of Iron Maiden and Eminem. That's not nothing.
Definitely not. So why did it fail here?
Well, the reason it likely won round 1 is probably down to its core nature. Maroon 5, they have that very specific blend, funky, polished, super radio-ready rock pop.
Yeah, they know their sound.
Exactly. And this album is consistent. It's professionally engineered. It's absolutely packed with hooks that, get stuck in your head. It delivers exactly what you expect from Maroon 5.
The source points out some key tracks that really carried it through that first round, right? Kiwi. Makes Me Wonder. Wake Up a Call.
Yeah. Undeniably huge singles. Tracks that defined that sort of mid-2000s pop sound and showed the band at their absolute peak, commercially and hook-wise.
But here in round 2, against this competition,
yeah,
that wasn't enough.
Apparently not. And this is where the assessment gets interesting. The description is that the album is merely solid.
Okay.
And it says it doesn't really do anything wrong at all, which on the surface sounds like praise.
Yeah, doesn't do anything wrong. Sounds pretty good for an album.
But I think in a group of champions like this one, just avoiding errors isn't enough. You need something more, right? You need those moments of transcendent brilliance or genuine surprise.
Okay. So its defining quality, its solidity, its consistency actually became its weakness here.
That seems to be the implication. If the album only falls short in a few places but never really hits those stratospheric highs, it kind of suffers from what you might call high-stakes competence.
High-stakes competence. I like that. It was really good, but maybe just too safe.
Precisely. In round 1, that high, consistent floor was enough to beat albums like Antichrist Superstar or the Iron Maiden debut. Those are classics, sure, but they definitely have moments of, let's say, rawness or maybe inaccessibility that could break the listening flow for some.
Right. They have rough edges.
Exactly. But here in round 2, the other 3 albums were offering something. Well, something more extreme, maybe, or definitive. Slang was a radical genre shift. Intepretations offered definitive versions of classic songs. Enya offered this pure, singular, aesthetic perfection.
And Maroon 5 was just really, really good Maroon 5.
Yeah. They couldn't really compete with that level of unique ambition or execution. They nailed being Maroon 5, but when you put that against 3 other albums that were nailing something much more unexpected or perfecting a different kind of art form, their professionalism started to look a bit like predictability.
So the tracks that weren't the massive singles, the deeper cuts, they just didn't hold up as well when played right after, say, Enya or Def Leppard.
That's likely it. When you're forced into that back-to-back listening, any slight dip, any moment where it's just good rather than great, it becomes a really glaring flaw compared to albums that maintain their unique brilliance across the whole runtime.
Right. You notice the dips more.
And Slang, Intepretations, and Enya, in their own very different ways, seem to have sustained their respective highs more effectively throughout.
So it sounds like It Won't Be Soon, before long, was almost a victim of its own success. It did exactly what it set out to do very well.
Yeah, it's an incredibly successful pop album.
But because the 3 albums ahead of it were so exceptionally different and so successful in their own maybe higher risk ambitions, Maroon 5 just couldn't break into the top 2.
Exactly. It wasn't beaten for being poor. It was beaten by 3 albums that were simply very good at being something radically different or uniquely perfect.
That's the brutal lesson of the album quest, isn't it? Competence isn't always enough when you're up against genius or radical reinvention.
Well put. So Maroon 5 bows out in fourth.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to the really critical decision, the battle for that second advancement spot, which also means, the battle for third place for whoever lost.
Right, this is where it gets tough. Enya versus the Carpenters.
And the author makes it clear this took a lot of thought. They used the phrase Orinoco blow to describe the deliberation.
Orinoco blow? Okay, so it was painful, analytical, comparing two masters of soft, very sophisticated sound.
Exactly. And it's fascinating because, like you said, they're built on such different ideas of beauty, aren't they? And his very best of is about creating this whole self-contained ethereal world.
Pure atmosphere.
Whereas the Carpenters' Interpretations is more about taking the best songs from the outside world and then, arguably, making them definitively better through arrangement and performance.
Two different kinds of perfection, almost. Okay, let's break down Enya first.
Right. Enya's whole aesthetic is defined by those ethereal New Age soundscapes. This compilation just showcases her total command over instrumental layers, those complex vocal textures. She built an atmosphere that's, well, pretty much flawless and completely enveloping.
And the innovation is key too, isn't it? The source mentions she uses her lush vocals as if they were synth chords or even panpipes.
Yeah, that's crucial. Her voice isn't just carrying the melody, it's an orchestral tool. She layers hundreds, literally hundreds of tracks of her own voice to create these massive, almost sort of religious-sounding choral textures. It's pure sonic architecture.
Technical world building through voice. Totally. And that technique leads to incredible consistency across the whole album. You look at the tracks mentioned, the rhythmic drive of Storms in Africa, the delicate piano of Watermark, the gorgeous sweep of Caribbean Blue, the deep, reflective beauty of Only Time.
Yeah, all classics of her sound.
And the overall verdict is that Enya enchants from start to finish. So purely on consistency, Enya might be untouchable here.
It sounds like the absolute perfect album for this quest. That total consistency, total mastery of mood.
Yeah.
So how on earth did the Carpenters manage to edge her out?
Well, the Carpenters, they operate on a slightly different frequency, don't they? They're described as more rooted in that soft, easy listening pop. It's a genre that, demands absolute precision to work.
Right. No room for error in that style.
And Interpretations, yeah, it's a compilation of covers, but it's given such star treatment, as the source says, that it really earns that title. This album wins entirely based on curation, choosing the right songs, and then the sheer quality of the arrangements.
So the genius isn't necessarily the original song itself, but what Richard and Karen did with it.
Exactly. It highlights the beautifully constructed melodies of giants like Bacharach, Lennon McCartney, Sedaka. They took gold and spun it into platinum, basically.
And the key ingredients.
Richard Carpenter's wonderful arrangements providing that perfect structure, and then, of course, Karen's absolutely luxuriant vocals floating over the top.
Yeah, her voice is legendary.
And the author explicitly says this combination produces the definitive versions of certain songs, not just good versions, the versions.
Okay, that's the core argument then. Achieving definitive status on songs that were already classics. Which ones are we talking about?
The source cites The Haunting Superstar, the incredibly melancholic Rainy Days and Mondays, and that quintessential soft pop anthem, The Long to Be Close to You. Getting the definitive take on those, that's a huge achievement.
It really is. So Enya offers consistency. The Carpenters offer maybe higher peaks with these definitive versions.
I think that's part of it. And maybe also unexpected dynamic range. You can't ignore the inclusion of their cover of Klaatu's prog rock track, calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft.
Oh, yeah, that's on there. The source calls it a totally out-of-place alien welcome anthem.
Which it kind of is. It's this sweeping, almost 8-minute, totally eccentric piece of sci-fi pop sitting right alongside these perfect ballads.
Right.
It gives Interpretations this dimension of surprise, maybe even artistic risk, that Enya, in her strict adherence to her perfect soundscape, deliberately avoids.
Okay, so this is getting clearer. Carpenters offer maybe higher peaks, more variety, but perhaps with tiny imperfections.
Yeah.
Enya is near flawless within her aesthetic, but maybe lacks that reinterpretive brilliance or the sheer oddity of calling Occupants. Tough call.
Absolutely a tough call. The author clearly wrestled with it. They note Interpretations is nearly an hour long and only really dips in quality in a few places.
Where were the dips, according to the source?
Specifically, they weren't entirely sold by the arrangement of Bless the Beasts and the Children or their take on When I Fall in Love. So minor faults acknowledged.
Okay, tiny cracks in the perfection.
And yet, despite those minor dips, the overall experience was judged high quality enough and, crucially, I think it edges it above Enya.
Why? What was the tipping point?
It seems to come down to the album quest's respect for, like, proven survivability and impact.
Because the Carpenters already beat GNR and Supertramp.
Exactly. The final ruling says the fact Intepretations came through two groups of such high-quality music is a testament to the charm and majesty of this album. The sheer quality, driven by those definitive vocals and Richard's arrangements, just provided enough emotional weight, enough sonic impact to overcome Enya's beautiful but maybe less varied world.
So supreme curatorial skill and arrangement quality beat consistent aestheticism in this round.
That seems to be the verdict. The Carpenters advance. It's a testament to just how good that album is, despite being just covers.
The subjective ruling stands. The author felt they longed to be close to them, sealing that second spot and sending Enya, the master of atmospheric perfection, home in third.
Wow. All right, so with Maroon 5 gone and Enya narrowly missing out, we turn to the clear victor of this incredibly tough group.
Def Leppard Slang.
Yeah. The author states that once all four albums got several playthroughs, the conclusion was definitive. Slang was the obvious group winner.
Obvious. Even against the sheer quality and consistency of Enya and the definitive covers by the Carpenters.
Apparently so, which I think really reinforces this idea we've been touching on. The album quest heavily rewards artistic risk and maybe surprising execution.
And Slang is definitely both of those for Def Leppard. It's not just a departure album, it's a really successful reinvention, isn't it?
Hugely successful, especially considering the context. You have to remember in 1996, the source calls it arguably the toughest time to be a soft rock act.
Yeah, grunge and alternative had basically wiped the floor with the 80s polished rock sound.
Totally. If Def Leppard had just trotted out Hysteria Part 2, they probably would have been ignored, or worse, ridiculed.
So they chose to adapt.
They did. And crucially, they succeeded where, as the source says, other bands of their ilk didn't or couldn't. They genuinely morphed their sound, radically moving away from the gloss and embracing the grit of the 90s.
Okay, let's get specific. What were the sonic changes that made this album the winner here?
Well, the production is way different. It features plenty of audio distortion, those classic, soaring, clean Def Leppard guitar solos.
Yeah.
They're often deliberately obscured by a wall of guitar. It's a much heavier, denser sound. It's an aggressive, conscious choice to sound more modern, messier.
Less Bandex, more.
Well, Slang. Exactly. A decision that definitely shocked parts of their fan base at the time, but clearly, in this listening quest, it delivered a superior overall experience compared to the others.
But hang on. Distortion and walls of sound were kind of everywhere in 96 alternative rock.
Yeah.
What did Leppard do with it that made Slang better than, say, the highly polished perfection that beat actual grunge bands in Enya's group?
That's the key question, isn't it? And the answer seems to be they maintained their core strength, which was always great songwriting.
Yeah.
They didn't just slap grunge distortion onto weak songs. They applied that heavier modern production to their inherent knack for melody, structure, and hooks. The album is still described as tight, and it flows effortlessly.
So it wasn't just noise.
No, not at all. It apparently sways between up-tempo and mid-tempo with a real confidence. The source even notes that at times it even swaggers more than those classic oeuvres Hysteria and Pyromania.
More swagger than Hysteria or Pyromania. That's a big claim.
It is. But that synergy, that heavy modern production fused with really sophisticated, well-crafted songs, that seems to be the winning formula here.
And the source mentions the sound holds up too.
Yeah, this is important. Tracks like Work It Out and the title track Slang sounded positively modern back in 1996, and hell, still do.
That's a massive advantage in a long-term quest like this, right?
Yeah.
Avoiding sounding dated.
Huge edge. It means the reinvention wasn't just a trend hop, it had substance. It didn't fall into that trap that caught so many 80s bands trying to adapt in the 90s.
And the individual songs themselves. Beyond the title track?
Oh yeah, the quality runs deep, according to this. We're talking about the pulsating energy of Deliver Me, the really tragic love ballad, All I Want Is Everything, and even some deeper philosophical questioning in where does love go when it dies?
Okay, so Slang basically ticked all the boxes for this round. It took a massive artistic risk.
Yep.
The production was dynamic, modern, and importantly, still relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And crucially, the songwriting underneath it all remained absolutely top tier.
That sums it up perfectly. So when you pit that package, risk, modernity, and killer songs against the Carpenters' curated perfection, Enya's flawless consistency, and Maroon 5's comfortable solidity.
The album that delivered the most compelling, surprising, and maybe just downright exciting ride took the top spot.
It seems so. Slang clearly delivered that knockout punch in Group 3, #Tag5. Final synthesis and takeaways. Okay, let's just quickly review the final rankings for Round 2, Group 3. This brutal showdown where 4 champions entered, but only 2 could survive.
Lay it on us.
In 4th place, eliminated, it won't be soon before long, by Maroon 5.
Solid, but not enough.
In 3rd place, also eliminated, very best of by Enya.
Consistent beauty, but edged out.
Advancing in 2nd place, Intepretations by the Carpenters.
The power of perfect covers.
And the group winner, advancing in 1st place, Slang by Leppard.
The successful, risky reinvention.
So Round 3 gets a pairing that, honestly, who would have predicted this at the start of the whole album quest? A grunge-adjacent heavy rock departure album alongside a soft pop compilation of definitive covers.
It's wild. And we say goodbye to Enya, the master of aesthetic purity, and Maroon 5, the pros of polished pop funk.
And the implications for the ongoing album quest here are pretty profound, I think. This process doesn't just reward quality, it seems to reward specific kinds of quality.
How so?
Well, look at the 2 winners. Slang won because Def Leppard took a massive gamble. They were willing to basically blow up their established multi-platinum sound and embrace a new, grittier reality. And it worked.
So successful artistic reinvention is a huge asset.
It really seems to be valued highly here. And then look at the Carpenters. Intepretations won by doing something almost equally difficult, taking already great material and elevating it, making it truly definitive, arguably surpassing the originals in many cases.
Right. So that rewards supreme curatorial skill, arrangement genius, and flawless performance. It wasn't just a playlist. It was an artistic statement on interpretation itself.
Exactly. And meanwhile, the albums that got eliminated, their strengths, while significant, maybe weren't dynamic enough for this specific killer group.
Maroon 5's reliability just looked, well, a bit plain compared to the ambition of the others.
Yeah, exposed by the sheer audacity elsewhere. And Enya's beautiful, consistent soundscapes, while enchanting, maybe they felt less dynamic than the genre clashes happening around them.
You have to imagine the listening experience, switching immediately from, say, Enya's Only Time to the heavy opening riff of Def Leppard's Work It Out.
Whoa. Yeah, that must have been a seismic shift for the listener's ears. And maybe the sheer energy and unexpectedness of Slang just carried more weight in that moment.
This quest, it really forces you, the listener, to confront your own musical biases, doesn't it?
Instantly.
The fact that Supertramp's genius crime of the century didn't even make it past Karen Carpenter's vocals in round 1, or that Enya's near flawlessness lost out to Def Leppard's calculated grit here. It just proves that historical reputation means absolutely nothing when the albums are played back-to-back.
It strips it all away. It demands immediate, sustained performance in that context.
It forces you to ask yourself, okay, if I put my all-time favorite classic album up against 3 totally random, maybe brilliant, maybe terrible albums in a blind test, would it actually win?
That's the self-assessment this quest forces on us, yeah. And these results, especially from Group 3, strongly suggest the eventual champion might not be the safest or most universally acclaimed choice. It might be the one that maximized its creative risk, like Slang, or its curatorial genius, like Intepretations.
This group really shows how ruthless it is. You could be the best at what you do, like Enya with New Age soundscapes, achieve near perfection.
Yeah.
But if you land in a group against a band successfully reinventing itself and a compilation perfecting classic songs, you're out.
No second chances. It's brutal, but fascinating. #tag outro. So the musical battles just keep raging on in this album quest. We've seen Def Leppard's dark, distorted reinvention with Slang and the Carpenters' lush, definitive covers and interpretations punch their tickets through to round 3.
Yeah, what a pairing to move forward. And it leaves us with a really fascinating question, doesn't it? Given how well a departure album like Slang did here in such a competitive group, does musical reinvention, a band's ability to completely shed its skin, embrace a totally new sound, and actually succeed where maybe other legacy acts failed, does that give an album an automatic advantage in this search for the best album of all time?
That's a great question. An advantage even against established classics or albums offering maybe safer, more consistent aesthetic visions like Enya's.
Exactly. Is risk rewarded more highly than perfection?
It's that ultimate question of legacy versus dynamism, isn't it? Maybe the eventual champion in this whole album quest won't be an album that perfectly represents its genre, but one that successfully defied categorization altogether or reinvented itself brilliantly.
Food for thought. We really encourage you, the listener, to think about it. What would your personal round 2 group 3 look like? If you put those 4 albums head-to-head, who survives your ruthless back-to-back comparison test?
Yeah, who makes it through for you?
Well, thanks for joining us for this really detailed look into the album quest and the battle for group 3.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time as the search for the ultimate sonic champion continues.